please join me in welcoming Dr. Amber Brignoli, Associate Vice President for Global Affairs.
Hello, everyone, and good morning or good evening or good afternoon, depending on what part of the world you may be viewing this broadcast from. I am so happy to see all of your faces. This is definitely going to be a challenging semester for many of us, a semester that we've never experienced before in higher education. Please know that all the administrators, faculty, and staff at WVU have been working very long hours, really since March, to make sure that you can have the best educational experience that you can possibly have in the midst of a global pandemic. So for those of you that are here in Morgantown with us, welcome to West Virginia. I'm a native of the state. I grew up a couple hours south of Morgantown in a town called Beckley, West Virginia, and then came to WVU and did my undergrad, my law degree, and my doctorate here. But I've also traveled the world in between some of that educational work. So for those of you that are unable to be with us in Morgantown this fall, that are you're still in your home country or you're starting your education elsewhere, you're still a mountaineer. We have a saying here: once a mountaineer, always a mountaineer. And you are now part of our mountaineer family and always will be. And we also have another saying that we love, that it's a great day to be a mountaineer wherever you may be. And our international students really embody the spirit of that saying, because we know that you will take our mountaineer spirit wherever your travels bring you throughout the world. So we know this will be a challenging semester for all of us, but especially we understand for our international students. The community has really rallied around our international students this summer, offering them support in many ways. So if you ever feel that you're being challenged just a little too much and you need some help, our office is here for you. You're going to hear from some of our staff this morning, but please know that for every person that talks today, there's 4 or 5 other individuals working behind the scenes to help you. And that's just in the Office of Global Affairs. The university has thousands of faculty and staff that will help you. Again, even if you're not able to be here in person, all of our advisors are offering virtual appointments. Our faculty are more than willing to converse with you, whether it's FaceTime or Zoom time, whether it's via FaceTime or over Zoom. We've been training them all summer on a lot of new technologies so that they can better not just deliver the classroom material, but also be able to interact with you in new and innovative ways. So obviously, as we all know, this is a very challenging time throughout the world. In the United States, it's an interesting time for another reason. We're actually coming up on our election season, or we've been experiencing it for a few months. But Election Day in the US is actually November 3rd. We'll elect our next president, many of our national leaders, state, local leaders as well. So I'm sure that will be mentioned in many of your classes. Some of your peers in discussion groups and on campus will probably be talking about it. If you're here in the US, you've probably seen some political ads, some signs, some commercials about it. But one of the reasons that I think this election is near and dear to our hearts in international education is one of our vice presidential candidates, Kamala Harris, is actually the daughter of 2 immigrants, one of Indian and one of African descent. And her parents actually met when they were in the US studying as international students. So I really do love her story. I think it's a great illustration of, you may think that you're only here for 1 semester or 1 year, you're just going to get a degree and then return home, but you never know where that path will take you. So take advantage of everything that we have to offer here at the university. This scene behind me is just an example of the gorgeous outdoor spaces that we have to offer here in West Virginia. So get out, meet people, introduce yourself, tell them where you're from. I'm sure they would love to learn about your culture and what brought you to West Virginia. Some other things to be aware of as you begin your studies here. I know in some cultures, it may not be appropriate to go up to a full professor and just start talking to them and ask them a question. Here, it's not only appropriate, it's recommended. I'm a professor myself. I've taught several classes at the university. I love it when students come up to me after class and ask a question. I was completely lost when you talked about this during the lecture, or I was really interested in this. Okay, show that you're paying attention, that you care. If you're not able to be on campus in person, send them an email. I had appointments with students at the end of the spring semester over FaceTime. They talked to me while they were walking outside. They talked to me from coffee shops. They talked to me from their bedrooms. It really doesn't matter. We love that interaction with our students. And it's a great way to, for us to learn your names and for you to dig a little deeper into the material and get help if you need it. And then also, if you find yourself in a situation this semester where I'm having a problem, I'm just not sure where to go. We often say, start at the lowest level. Okay? Because quite frankly, I am more than happy to help you if you have an issue. But what will probably happen if you email me a question saying, I have a problem with my I-20, or I have a question about my visa. I'll be honest, I'm not the expert in those areas. I have people that work for me that are the expert in those areas. So I may get that message, and then I'm going to have to send it down to one of our directors and say, hey, can somebody help this student? And then they're going to have to send it to an advisor, and they're going to have to look into your case. Well, that may take, at least a day or two for those emails to get filtered down to those people. Whereas if you know who your advisor is and you can just go straight to them, they're going to be the one that will ultimately have to help you in the first place. Because then what sometimes happens is then the message gets funneled back up. And so that goes the same in your classes. If you're having a problem with the material, the best place to start is with the professor. If you truly feel that they're not being responsive, then go to the next person, the chair of the department, the dean of the college, but always give them an opportunity to respond. And again, it is not only acceptable, it is recommended that you ask as many questions as you have. When I was a student at WVU, our president back then used to say, there are thousands of people at this university that will help you if you just decide to do it. Okay? So I'm sitting here, over 20 years later as an associate vice president, which is not a position that I ever thought I would obtain in my career. And it is one of the greatest honors of my life to be able to welcome you to WVU. And I only hope that you have as wonderful an experience at this university as I have had. So thank you again for being with us this morning, and I will turn it back over to Hank and Chris.
Thank you so much, Dr. Brignoli. That was really great to hear. And so what we're going to do is we're now going to move over to Chris Bennett, who's the Assistant Director of International Students and Scholar Services for Compliance. So Chris is going to go, he's going to share his screen and have a PowerPoint presentation that's going to overview a lot of the regulatory pieces of being an international student. And we also understand that this is going to be a lot of information. We are fully aware of that. But luckily, again, this recording will be available for you to reference afterwards. But most of this information is also available on our website. So we're going to really want you to be able to check that out. And Chris will go over some of that. So Chris, are you...
Yep.
There he is.
Ready.
So we're gonna, bear with us with the technical pieces. So we're gonna try and get the screen sharing working, and we will go from there. All right, there it is.
Good morning, everyone. This part is a bit more technical than the rest of our presentation, but it's an important piece. I considered adapting it for COVID purposes, but I thought at the same time, COVID is a hopefully temporary situation. So at this point, I didn't make any large changes. I wanted you guys to know what is the norm, and then we can, if there's any questions, you can of course ask the Global Affairs account. So being an international student is rough, and of course during COVID, there are other added difficulties. First of all, if you've actually just made it to the US, one of the things you might have, situations you miss your mom. You miss your familiar food from all around the world. You miss your friends. You have millions of classes to take, obviously tired, and you have a bunch of new laws to follow. And the laws in the US are not user-friendly, but that's what we're here to do. We're here to help. There are a lot of great things for you to experience in the US, even during COVID. You get to meet new people and interesting people. There's a lot of fun opportunities, activities everywhere, even during COVID. And we're here to help you make your transition to WVU the best experience possible. So the goal of this presentation is to help you remember some, of course, not everything. The laws are detailed and various, but to get to know some of the most important information this morning. So the first thing is to learn about your immigration documents, a few rules and regulations, learning about Global Affairs Services and WVU services in general. And lastly, some opportunities that you can have at WVU. So first off, immigration documents. You should be hopefully familiar with your passport, and keep in mind your passport should always be valid while you're in the US. You should be familiar also with your SEVIS fee. That's a hefty $350 fee that you had to pay to the US government. Your visa that you use to enter the US. Your I-94, you can retrieve this one, you may not know, but it's your arrival departure record. You can retrieve this at the website there, or you can Google or use your favorite search engine. Just search I-94, and this is your official arrival and departure record for the US. Should look something like this. Keep in mind, it should have your class of admission as F1 and your admit date as D/S. Your I-20 or DS 2019. And when would you need these? Well, here's some information on rules and regulations for this. So when I came up with this presentation, I kept asking myself, how can I boil down all these rules and regulations? Light bulb moment that I had. If you remember this one rule, you'll know when to seek out our help. Why did you come to the US? So your answer there should be to study. And the one rule that rules them all, Lord of the Rings reference here, you came to study full-time. And anything that prevents you from studying full-time goes against your reason to come to the US. So full-time in-person study is good. And I realized that during COVID, that full-time in-person is not exactly what we're the situation we're under now, but full-time in-person studies under normal circumstances is good. You still have to have some in-person studies, and then not being full-time and not in-person at all, not good. So some other examples in how this rule could work. If you're having trouble keeping up with your first semester just because you have too much homework. My third semester, I went skiing over winter break. I broke my body, can't go to class. These are some examples. I got caught cheating. My professor's giving me an F. School's too expensive, and I'll just not pay. My midterm grades came back and I'm getting a D in math. My friend thinks I should drop the class. You want me to go to every class? Maybe I'll just do my classes online. So these are times that you need to think about and you say, okay, where do the rules and regulations, how do they interact with these situations? If you're having trouble keeping up with your first semester because you have too much homework, you need to talk to your professor, as Amber mentioned. But you have to keep up, you have to be full-time. If you're having difficulties, talk to your professor. You can also make an appointment and talk to one of our advisors and see if there's any situation that we can help you with. You hurt yourself. If you're having medical difficulties or during COVID, these are big problems that you can can prevent you from going to class. Again, talk to your professor And if you're having difficulty going to class and they're not able to help, talk to us. There are certain things that we can do to help reduce course loads, for example. You got caught cheating, there's a student conduct process, but you have to remain full-time. And if there's a cheating issue, then of course we have people in our office. And my colleague, who's going to be presenting soon, can explain that situation and can help you get through this process. School's too expensive. I think I'll just not pay. Again, in the U.S., unfortunately, school is very expensive. But you have to pay the bill to be able to continue and maintain your full-time status. Your midterm grades came back and you're getting a D. Should you drop the class? You can drop a class, but remember you have to maintain your full-time status. You want me to go to class every day? Maybe I'll just do my classes online. Again, this is slightly off for COVID, but for the most part, yes, you should be going to your classes. Attendance is very important. And if you're having difficulties, talk to your professor, and you can also talk to us about that. So what services does Global Affairs provide? We love our students and we work hard every day, as Amber had mentioned, to make sure that you can do great at WVU. We're here to help. We offer advising when something is coming between you and your full-time studies. We advise on employment opportunities for while you're a student and after you graduate. We're here for the long haul. We're here for the duration of your program. If you have a sponsor, we work with them to provide additional services for you. We offer programming and activities all year long, yes, even during COVID. And we coordinate with other campus offices to make sure you aren't overlooked. We want to make sure that international students are not overlooked on campus. You're important to us. The diversity is important to us. And we're even here if you forget that one rule of maintaining your full-time status. We're here to help you if you make any mistakes. If we can help, we will. So summarizing this, we are here to help you. Just remember that. The Office of Global Affairs is kind of a catch-all. Whenever an international student has issues, we do want to help you, whatever that may be. So I'm going to stop my part of the presentation. I'm going to leave this off to Hank.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much. So again, if anyone has any questions about any of this, don't hesitate to email us at globalaffairs@mail.wvu.edu. It's the email address that I linked in the email yesterday, and it should appear in your chat box. With that, we're going to move to the next part of our presentation, which is our Assistant Director for International Student Services, Andy Patrick. So Andy, take it away.
Hi, welcome everybody. It's really good to see you all, and thanks for joining the presentation here today. My name is Andy Patrick. I'm Assistant Director in our Office of International Student Services. So you may see me from time to time, either through a Zoom appointment, but hopefully we get back into the office and see me more often there because I also serve as your campus international student advocate. So as Chris said, we are here to help. So oftentimes there might be just simple questions that you have about living in the United States or Morgantown and you can't find an answer. And you can always come to me or send me an email and I can help you guys out. I like to consider myself as a compass for you, you know, using the analogy of traveling. And you got here, a compass kind of points you in the right direction. And I may not be able to solve the issue for you directly and do it for you, but I'll certainly point you on the path of least resistance to make sure that you get your problem solved and that others are listening to you as well across campus or wherever you may need. So today I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about the services that we offer within our department and within OGA. And I'm going to share my screen here so you guys can see a little bit of the presentation that I have prepared for you. All right, let me just pull this up. Okay, so normally if you guys were on campus and we weren't under COVID restrictions right now, this is the Puritan House. This is where our office is located, where the Office of Global Affairs is. We are still here to help you guys remotely with anything that you may need. Of course, we have these Zoom sessions or meetings that we can set up, email. We also, the office is open. We have some student workers within the building that will direct you towards our virtual services and make sure that you have everything that you may need to reach out to us. It's important that when you do visit our office here at the Puritan House, that you are making sure that you're staying socially distant, you're wearing your mask, and also practicing good hand washing hygiene. Our in-person and phone services are suspended. So if you do call, you may have a student worker answer. They know some general questions, but we don't want them to do any larger advising. It's really important that you get expert advice, and that's why we have our international student advisors available remotely to either set up an appointment or to email to make sure that they have your record up, make sure that they're looking at the appropriate things. And sometimes it can take a little while to kind of dig in on a question. So we don't want to give the wrong information. But if you do call, our student workers are there to help, and they'll direct you towards the best person that you will need to talk to. Our front desk staff, our student workers are there. They are knowledgeable about some things. They can answer those general questions that you have for you if you want to stop in and see the area. And if you do need a document pickup, if the advisors email you, say you've elected to pick it up and you believe you can stay safe within our building, you can come to the office and pick up that document there. So we do have some services available inside Puritan House right now, and we're looking forward to having you all back there. But right now, it's really important that you understand that most of our services are going to be done remotely from here on out. But after the summer and after adapting online, switching online, I truly believe we can offer the same type of service that you would receive if we were in person. But we would really just love to get back to the office as soon as possible. But unfortunately, we're going to have to wait a little bit longer to make sure that we're all safe. With that being said, the best way that you can get a hold of us is usually through email. So the first email address listed there, the ISSS students at mail, is for student requests for your F1, J1 visas. If you're a scholar, that's the next email as well for our scholars unit. We also have sponsored students. So if you're sponsored by an embassy or a company, and they're paying for your tuition, or you have a scholarship, you want to email our sponsored students office as well. And as Hank mentioned, for general questions, we have the Global Affairs at mail as well for anything that you may want to reach out about. So those are our four main email accounts that we do use. When in doubt, if you email the wrong place, it's okay. We all work very well together, and we'll understand where it goes, and we'll forward it along. But try to reach out to us if you do need something by email, and that's the first way to get a hold of us. Now, with walk-in appointments, phone service appointments being suspended, it may take a little bit longer than you might be used to get an email back. We really do try to answer email within 48 hours or 2 business days. Sometimes if it's not an urgent request, it may take a little bit longer. We do have a lot of students at the university, and we try to make sure that we prioritize and make sure that we meet deadlines and we're not hurting any other individual by waiting any little bit longer. So if you send an email and you don't receive a response within a day or so, please give us another day. You feel free to reach out and check in if you'd like, but we ask to give us at least 2 business days and maybe 3 if it's during a peak period for us to get back to you. But email is the best way to reach out to us, and we do check those accounts regularly, and we make sure that those are answered. So feel free to send those emails when you guys have a chance. Also, we have our websites, which are full of information. So oftentimes we receive emails from students with some questions that we can answer right off the bat, but also these questions also can be answered by visiting our online resources. So this is kind of the homepage, an example of it. Up at the top, you see a navigation bar where it says students. You click on that, and there's a whole wealth of information. I know that you guys have a lot going on being new within the country, within Morgantown, but take a moment to read through and maybe skim through some of those resources and learn about your F1 visa, or learn about what it takes to find employment on campus. We put a lot of information online, and a lot of those questions can be answered there. You can also use this website. If you look all the way to the right of that example, there's a little request button there. So if you have a request of our office, you need something to help maintain your visa, you can find those requests, and they're in alphabetical order. So you can scroll through and see what type of requests that you need. Once you submit a request to us, we're immediately alerted of that request. And either our advisors will reach out to you with further questions, or to let you know that you're missing some documentation that you may need for that request. The requests that you do submit, they'll tell you step by step what you need, but you can always email us or reach out if you have questions about any of those specific requests that are in there. You can also make an appointment as well. We have virtual services, as I mentioned. So if you want to make an appointment with one of our advisors and have them reach out back to you by email, by a phone appointment, or by Zoom, you can do that as well by clicking request and going to appointment with an advisor. Now, the advisor, if you do make the appointment the morning of, you have to wait for confirmation. They may not get that right away. So we do ask that you guys try to make appointments within 24 hours to give them time to see that request and confirm that appointment, because there may be a lot of going on that day and they might not be able to make that appointment. They may also reach back out to you and say, hey, this is a pretty simple question. Why don't we I'll email you the answer. You don't actually need a longer appointment, because they're looking out for you. They want to look out for your time and make sure that you understand that this is a pretty simple thing to take care of. So you may get an email from them and say, hey, problem solved. We don't necessarily need to meet, but here's the answer that you're seeking. Or they may reach out and say, hey, I think you might need a phone call, or let's set up a Zoom appointment. This might be a longer conversation. So that's the best really way to get a hold of an advisor. But you might want to try first our email, because oftentimes those are simple questions that can be answered as well. So we have a whole range of options for you remotely, either to put in a request for services and let us work on that, to email us and help us by answering those questions, or by contacting our advisors. This is the lobby of our office, which you normally would see. As you can see now, there's plexiglass up and not much going on in there, but we're hoping to have some activity in there soon. When you do put in those requests, our advisors in the office will help take care of them. Some of those things that we'll do for you guys are Social Security letters and good standing letters. Now, a Social Security letter is needed if you want to get on payroll and you find part-time work. Also, good standing letters are needed from time to time for various reasons, especially if you want to get your driver's license or go to the DMV or renew your license. You'll need a good standing letter, and you can put a request in for that. Typically, these take about 5 business days. So I would encourage you guys to plan ahead. If you know that your license is going to expire, putting in the day before it's going to expire is not going to guarantee that you'll get it the next day. It does take some time, and we process these in the order that they were received. We try to do our best to speed up any requests the best that we can, but we ask that you respect the fact that it may take about 5 business days for these types of letters, especially with remote services being the way that they are, for us to either drop off the document or mail the document to you if needed. Also, if you're planning on going home and traveling, you need a travel signature to return back into the country. That travel signature is on your I-20, and you can request one of these by clicking request, and there is a replace I-20 or DS 2019 that you can click on. There's a questionnaire to ask why you need a replace. If you just put travel signature, our advisors will help you out. And hopefully we'll be back in the office soon where we can do these in person. But make sure you have that travel signature if you guys are leaving the country and then coming back in. Also, some other things that you might want to be aware of is you need to update your address within 10 days of it changing. So Chris may have mentioned this, but you should have completed what's called a CVIS check-in with us. This can be done with the request link and looking up the CVIS check-in. When you click on that, it will ask you for some information about your address, a little bit about yourself that we need to have to register you here. So please make sure that you do CVIS check-in and update your address with us there and your contact information. If you have any questions about that, you can email us And if you do move, you are in temporary place now and you're looking to find another apartment, just update that address, and you can do that with a request with us as well. If at any time, like Chris said, the number one rule is to maintain full-time status. However, you can do a reduced course load with us. Now, very important to remember, do not drop your courses before adding additional courses. So if you're at 12 credits full-time, we cannot approve the request if you've already dropped it down to 9 credits. So it's really important that you guys know to not drop your courses below full-time and then put in a reduced course load. Ask us first about a reduced course load to see if you're eligible, and then make sure that if you are eligible, that you add the courses that you need before you drop, or that you hear from us about how to proceed with that reduced course load request. Now, the reduced course load requests are for initial trouble with the English language or American teaching methods, for a medical reason, or if you're in the last semester of your degree. It's not for anything such as you just want to, only take 9 credits. You're stressed out and that's the only thing that you want to do is take 9 credits. That typically won't be approved. So it has to be a medical reason with proof from a medical doctor about that as well, a licensed medical doctor, or that you have a recommendation from an advisor that you're having initial struggle within some of your classes due to language or unfamiliarity with methods. Again, reach out to us with questions about this. You can also request a program extension with us. So if the time is running out on your I-20 and you may need to take a little bit longer to graduate, with a recommendation from an advisor, you can also extend your program. So that's another thing that we'll help you out with in our office. So if you have any questions at any time about any laws or regulations or what you need to do, please be sure to check in with our advisors first, and we will let you know what the best course of action is at that point. I also mentioned that I serve as your international student advocate. So one of the things that I do is reach out to different departments across campus and help coordinate any support that you may need. Some departments across campus that I work closely with are our care team, which are for special concerns, things that don't normally come up on a day-to-day basis. However, they need your attention and support. I also work with a Mountaineer Hub, which is responsible for student accounts, finance, registrar, your scholarships. So I could reach out to them and help you out with any issues that you're having there. The Office of Student Conduct is also one that I work with directly that I'll speak about here soon. Usually if student is in trouble with either behavior-wise or in a class due to academic integrity reasons, I can advocate for you and advise you on that process and how that works. Sometimes the Office of Student Conduct may reach out to you just for some questions. Their job is to make sure they investigate any instances where there may be occurring any academic integrity or cheating issues within classes, and also investigate any type of behavior on campus that might need to be looked into. So if you do receive a letter from them, don't panic, reach out to me, and I can advise you and let you know what the letter says if you're unsure. And most of the time, they may have some questions for you or want to meet with you. The Caruth Center is also a great office that we have on campus. They work on your health and mental well-being while on campus. So if you're stressed, you're not doing well, you need somebody to talk to, the Caruth Center is there to help and help coordinate that support. We also have a lot of opportunities for campus and community engagement. We also have a website for volunteering, for activities that are taking place across campus, and I'll outline some of those and tell you a little bit more about them here. So there's personal opportunities for you about asking for help. I mentioned the care team. They're located in our Office of Campus and Community Life. So if you have a special need or concern as a student, and you're not sure where to turn, or some type of crisis may occur, or perhaps you're worried about another student in a class, or somebody that on campus that is going through a crisis, and you would like them to get some additional support, you can make a referral to our care team. The Campus Life email is there, their website is there. They can also help with roommate searches, for off-campus housing, legal issues. There's a whole range of information that Campus and Community Life can help you out with. So I really encourage you guys to check out their website and see all the different types of services that they have to offer. We also have student health here on campus. As a student, if you're paying your health insurance, you have access to our student health. if you just search for Student Health WVU, you'll see the range of services. We have an excellent hospital system here, and our Student Health is located on our Evansdale campus. We also have what's known as the rack for perishable and non-perishable food items. So if you are running low on your budget and you just need to pick up a few items to get you through the week, the rack is available, and you can Google that information, and they're run through the Office of Student Engagement. But it is a place on campus that I encourage you guys to go to get some help if you do need it. And then Well WVU is another great website that gives you some information about services offered to help boost your health and well-being. They've offered yoga classes in the past, tips on meditation, all those things that you may need during a stressful semester in college. So I highly recommend that you check out their website as well. I mentioned the Mountaineer Hub for your finances. So this is where you need to go to pay your bill. Make sure that your finances are taken care of, your student account is taken care of by September 1st. If not, please contact the Mountaineer Hub. There is their information on sending them a ticket, which is just like an email, so they can keep track of it. They help with financial aid, scholarships, any waivers on the account. They look at your student account, maybe identify issues, what's going on. If you owe something, you don't know why, they can help answer that. If you need to order a transcript or add or drop classes, have questions about certain classes, you want to talk to the registrar. Now, just remember, again, you don't want to be adding or dropping classes without consulting with us first, so we can advise you appropriately with that. There's also academic resources across campus. Even though we don't have drop-in tutoring, there are tutoring resources available to schedule a tutoring session through Zoom online. So tutoring is free. It's held virtually by appointment. You can go to the website, studentsuccess.wvu.edu, and actually request a tutor for a lot of different classes. Most of the major subjects are covered. We also have what's called a writing studio. You'll see that on the webpage, more information about that. I highly encourage you to take advantage of the writing studio. They have tutors available there to review papers, research papers, make sure that you're citing correctly, grammar is correct. They'll help you with editing. They'll give you ideas how to start a paper, how to finish a paper. So if you're unfamiliar with the American teaching methods or how papers should be written, or if you have any questions about that, the Everly Writing Studio is a wonderful resource for you, and I highly recommend that you utilize them. I also want to speak a little bit about academic integrity. Within the US, plagiarism is taken seriously at US colleges. This basically means that you are taking credit for another person's work and passing it off as your own in order to receive some type of benefit. So it's really important to understand that copying from a website without citing that source is inappropriate, and it will face consequences at the university. You can also make sure that when you're working in a group, that you understand that you communicate with the professor that you're working together, and make sure that that's okay first before you proceed with any collaboration. Talk with your professors if you're unsure before anything is due. If you believe that you used anybody else's work or cited anybody else's source, make sure you check with them or with the writing studio about what the appropriate way to cite is. I don't want you to see you guys make any mistakes with academic integrity or receive a letter from the Office of Student Conduct if they're uncertain, if there was any type of issue with that. If you're still unsure about what that is, again, talk to your professors. They should have something in your syllabus that outlines what that is. But also the Office of Student Conduct does do outreach and education if you're interested in learning more about that to make sure that you are doing everything appropriately. I mentioned a little bit the Cruise Center. There's their website, and they have their list of services during COVID. I'm not sure if they've opened back up individual counseling in person, but I know that they're still doing online counseling. They can do group counseling as well for things like, feeling stress, homesickness. If you feel like you're just not adapting well to the college process, everybody needs a little bit of help. Even myself, when I first started at WVU, felt a little homesick. So if you're struggling a little bit with adapting here or have any needs whatsoever for your health and well-being, please contact the Cruise Center. They also do academic enhancement. So if you need some coaching on learning skills, stress management, how to organize, they can offer you some great tips as well. So if you're struggling at all, help is available, and this is a great resource for you guys. to go to for that type of help. And also take advantage of your academic and professional opportunities as well. There's academic advising within your department. Some of you may have in-house tutoring that is available. I know Statler College does a lot within engineering. You can also go to career services for interview tips, career advice, workshops, and also look for campus employment. As an international student, you can work part-time on campus up to 20 hours a week. And we do have a job search engine called Handshake that's used to post jobs. If you need help about understanding that employment and what you need to do to make sure that you do everything legal to get employed, please contact our office and we'll certainly give you some more information. Our website has information as well, step by step, what you need to do if you're seeking to get a job while you're here. Now, I know a lot of jobs aren't available because we're not as in person that we used to, but some places are still hiring remotely and it's good to check. But remember the 20-hour rule. You cannot work over 20 hours. Even if you have two jobs, both of those jobs, you can't go over 20 hours. So 10 on one, 10 on the other, or a combination. Just make sure you don't go over those 20 hours because then you would be in violation of your status. Also, that student engagement, there's clubs to be involved in. I'm sure they're still meeting remotely. Looking forward to meeting when you guys can get back in person. There, last I checked, over 500 different clubs here at WVU. Get involved. The best way to really get involved too is to volunteer, to get involved with those organizations. So student engagement will have opportunities for you to connect with other students across campus and domestic students that are here. And it's really good for our domestic students to learn a little bit about where you all are from and to help them as well in understanding a little bit about your culture and background. So I really encourage you guys to get involved, not only in clubs that are for students from your similar countries or cultures or backgrounds, but get involved with clubs where you get to share a little bit about that with other students as well. And one of the last things, and I saved this for last because it is extremely important, is that you check your portal and mix email every day. Stay informed. Make sure that you have timely responses to any email from our office emailed to you. It's really important that email is the professional way that everyone across campus gets some information out nowadays. So it's important that you're checking and organizing your email, that mix email. That's where we will email information to your mix email, and most of the offices on campus will be emailing to that mix email as well. And your portal homepage will have a lot of announcements and information for you. So it's really good that you stay involved and stay on top of those two things to make sure you get everything that you need to be successful. With that being said, I welcome you guys back here to WVU and really looking forward to helping in any way possible. So please reach out to our office or to me if you need anything. And I'm going to turn it over to Hank for the last part of our presentation.
Awesome. Thank you, Andy, so much. That was a really excellent presentation. Thank you to Chris, and thank you again to Amber. We really appreciate your guys' time. And so we do have a few questions, not a ton of questions, but we're going to go over those one by one. But still, if you do have a question, shoot it over to that email account, globalaffairs@mail.wvu.edu. So our first question, I'm going to direct that to Chris for compliance. In this time of change, are research hours regarded as in-person or online, or whoever wants to pick that up? I think we all know the answer, so.
Yes, research credits are considered in person for the purposes of maintaining your F1 status.
Yes, so that's an easy one there. Then we also have that for your student loans or for any other type of financial need, you may need a confirmation of enrollment to send to your loan provider. How do you get that, or how do you fulfill that request? So that's actually a really easy one. A verification of enrollment is an automated service that WVU can provide, and you can find that through your STAR portal. So if you go into STAR, you're going to see one of those options is going to be to get a verification of enrollment. And if you're not 100% sure on the steps, if you just Google WVU verification of enrollment, it's going to direct you to our registrar's website. And on that website, there's going to be detailed step-by-step instructions and links that'll take you there. And that's something that I think I want to note is that WVU prides itself on having really excellent websites and really, really well-maintained websites. So a lot of times if you ever have a question about like, oh, I'm not sure who to talk to about this, or I'm not sure where this service is, just Google whatever your question is and put WVU at the end, and most of the time you're going to get the right answer really easily right there. But the verification of enrollment, I believe it's almost an instantaneous process. As long as you're fully enrolled, it'll deliver you a PDF document that you can then send off. I know when I was a student, that was something I always had to send in. My verification of enrollment. For me, it was for my parents' insurance. That was something I always had to have. So we're all quite familiar with that. So another question here for Chris: do Canadians require travel signatures for leaving the country?
So yes, I didn't talk much about travel signatures. Andy mentioned it as our service. As a reminder, on your I-20 DS 2019, this is not for leaving the country, this is for returning to the US. So this applies to all citizens, Canadian, even those that don't require visas, like Bermuda and Canada, sorry, the Bahamas and Canada. You would need a travel signature to return to the US. That it signifies that your documents are all good to go for your return to the US. So yes, Canadians would require this as well.
All right, thank you for that, Chris. And again, yeah, the travel signature is a really important piece. We want you to be sure and get those anytime you plan on leaving the US. We also want you to plan ahead for this, because especially with planned breaks that are going to be coming up, for example, if you plan, and this is in the future too, this isn't just during the time of COVID, this is a forever thing, but during planned breaks, if you plan on leaving the country during spring break, Thanksgiving break, the winter holiday, any of those times, we need you to think a little bit ahead about that and get your travel signature, because what I can guarantee you is if you try and come in the day before your flight, it may not happen as quickly and easily as you want. And we may have to mail you a new I-20 with the travel signature, and you're going to have to pay the shipping on that. So with these things, just think ahead. We're really available. We're really accessible, especially during these online times. You just put in the request and we can email it. We can mail it to you. So just think a bit ahead when it comes to travel. I mean, as someone who travels a lot, I can promise you that very rarely does my travel just like happen in a heartbeat and then I'm on the plane the next day. So usually you're booking these things a little bit ahead. So just plan to get your travel signature ahead of time with that.
I was gonna say, Hank, can I just say a couple last things?
Absolutely.
Yeah, everyone, I just want to, I'm sure we all realize that these are times that, none of us have really experienced before. And I'm sure that you all have a million questions. Please be patient with the administrators and the faculty, because during the course of this meeting, I got about 5 emails from faculty members asking me questions about how they should do things during the semester. So, we're all kind of in the same boat, so to speak. We're all figuring this out together, especially for those of you that maybe aren't in the country. I can't stress enough how important it is that you reach out to your faculty member. Let them know you're taking this class from a different time zone. There may be issues with your ability to access certain systems. They will greatly appreciate that. As a professor, I can tell you that. Be patient with them. Yes, we've trained them, but I'm sure we all have experience with teachers that can't quite figure out the technology. I taught my class in the spring semester, and I realized after the class was over, the very last lecture I gave, that you couldn't see my head because I'd shifted the camera down a little too far. So my class had their last words from me with no face. So, those things happen. They were still able to listen to the lecture. And at the same time, for those of you that are on campus, it may be a little awkward. Please have a mask if you're on campus. That is required. Even if you're outside, and especially if you're in groups outside on campus, we do ask that you wear that mask to protect others. If you don't have one, please, let us know. We can get you one. But then also, your professor is going to be behind a plexiglass, and they're not used to lecturing through a mask either. So, again, be patient. Let them know if you're having trouble understanding them. Let them know if you can't hear them. They're all very concerned about this. We've had many, many talks about it throughout the summer. So again, go up to them, let them know if you're having problems. And as we have stressed all summer here on campus, we will all get through this together.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bergnoli. If you have any questions or if you think of anything later, still feel free to send it over to that globalaffairs@mail.wvu.edu email account, and we'll make sure it gets to the right person to answer your question. Again, we want to thank you all so much for being here. We really, really, truly appreciate it. We thank you for your patience during these challenging times. This is new for all of us, but mostly we're really excited and we're really grateful to have you all as part of the Mountaineer family. So let's have a great semester and let's go Mountaineers.